Kevin Tunoi, 20. Kevin 20 is a mentor. Expert. So 20. Welcome on board, and you can start it up.
Thank you. You can confirm that you can hear me and also see me. Yeah. Can you? Am I audible?
Yep, you're okay.
Awesome. Thank you. So once again, I'm glad. Thank you so much, the whole team, Juma, and the Spacia Tech organizers for inviting me for this session. It was really exciting to come, especially at a very opportune time when it is the Global Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is usually done in every start of October. So when I was thinking about it, I just looked back and tried to understand. And I'll also be sharing my screen before I do. But before I do that, I think it's important to share and discuss and just get to know each other. So apart from being a mentor as well as an expert around security, although I don't love that word because people usually put it that highly, is I'm a cloud consultant. So most of the time I help people just migrate to the cloud, get to know what they need to do while in the cloud. The cloud is not just a lift and shift from on-premise, and also security, because what really geared me towards security is I can say my cloud accounts have been hacked several times, maybe because of sometimes my ignorance, maybe pushing my credentials on GitHub and all those kind of things. So it made me try to think ahead and try to see why are we in this. And you've been seeing it lately. You see someone says my account has been hacked, then the first thing you ask them is, what did you click, what did you do for you? And they just can't explain. They just say, my account got compromised. I had a friend of mine who we co-administrate a social media account for a very reputable organization, and what happened is his account got compromised, and the person was trying to take over the social media platform because it had like around 15,000 followers there. So what happened is the moment the hacker was able to remove the admin, that person was unable to remove me. Why? Because first of all is I think I was the one who added the second co-admin, and also I had some form of authentication, like MFA authentication, in case the person had already gotten and compromised my password. So it got difficult. So the person only tried to change the way, I think the Kabarak University kind of thing that happened, where the name was changed, and also that person started posting a lot of things. I don't know whether some people say it was a form of cloud chasing, but that's, I'll leave it to you. So we are here today to talk about secure the cloud. So I'll share my screen. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just into cloud. Secure your environment, and also just looking at it in terms of going beyond passwords. I don't know whether you know this, but I'll share. First of all, let me confirm whether my share is working. Let me just first of all go into presentation. From and can put it in the chat whether you've been hacked like me or not. It would be great to know whether we are alone. They usually say there are two people in this world: people who have been hacked and those who are waiting to be hacked. So where do you stand? Where do you stand? Okay, I think this one is good. Awesome. Good. So, so I think we've already said this. So let me just move to this. Sherry, you've been hacked. And you know, there's a difference between kukua hacked. Let me just speak a bit in Kiswahili. And clicking some weird things, then you just give up your. Or maybe I had in a certain WhatsApp group the other week that somebody was told. I think someone was so religious, akaambiwa just send us that code, ndo upate a link to the prayer and fasting session, which is very important and it will transform your life. And people have used so many tactics, social engineering tactics, to get the OTPs. And that is why I said today is all about passwordless authentication and not just MFA. People think that if you just enable OTPs or time-based OTPs, one-time passwords, it's and you have MFA, you're good to go. But the moment somebody is able to hack your primary account that you use for single sign-on for so many other platforms, then you're done and over with. So it's very important to ask ourselves, why are we here today? Why are we here today? And the reason why we are here today is either because you've been hacked or you're waiting to be hacked and you don't want to be hacked. So I'll put it again, and I'll still want to ask you this: is how many of you still use passwords? We still use passwords, maybe especially on your primary email. If you're using Google, if you're using okay, kuna watu wanatumia Yahoo bado, I don't know, Yahoo and Hotmail and all these kind of things. So Sherry is saying that hers was both clicking a link and receiving an email from a hacker with my credentials. Even it was so funny. There was a time I got an email from somebody who wanted to hack me and says, Kevin, it was actually about a parcel. And the weird thing about it is the person had created a very similar link to the Posta Kenya platform. And they said that, Kevin, for you to get your delivery or your dispatch could not come through because you did not provide your address. And I'm very sure that I always provide my full kind of mailing address when I receive maybe packages from wherever, whether it's from abroad or locally. So the weird thing is I had already gotten into the trap. But the moment I saw that I have to pay 48 shillings, and that 48 shillings I have to pay using my credit card, and that is when I realized, damn, this is crazy. Why would someone, si hata angeweka tu M-Pesa 48 shillings and you want me to put in my credit card credentials and all these kind of things? So yeah, so it's crazy. Dennis Kamau. So William is saying that you use password and you usually love reusing. Actually, that is my weakness. That was my weakness before passwordless came. The moment I asked for a password, I don't know whether you've seen that funny video on LinkedIn about somebody, how the evolution of how we put our passwords, when we are being told to put it into 6 characters, and then maybe the moment you are told to add maybe a special character, we added an art, or we put an exclamation mark at the end, and then again we were told to add it into 12 characters. So you are trying to evolve, and as you evolved, also the dictionary was also evolving with us. So funny as it is, I could really relate with it, because setting new passwords, the accounts that still force me to still use passwords, I always have to click forgot password. I don't want the hassle of being told your password is wrong. So even if the moment I see there's a password link text, I don't try to think which password did I put here. I just click on forgot password, follow up the whole process, then I just get to my account. So what does really passwordless authentication really mean? Microsoft. Sure. The good thing when Microsoft said you can now log in using GitHub, I set up my access on using GitHub, so my life became so much easier. And I set MFA on my GitHub, so I decided now I can. So every time I see Microsoft, they say your credentials are also backed up by GitHub, so you can use that. Yeah, so, but you're still going to have this discussion. Remember, it's going to be a discussion just after I just finish this presentation. And you're going to see and also going to answer what Delax is asking there. So I love this meme. I tried to look, I just Googled passwordless meme. And I got this, you can't forget your password if you never had any. And there's nothing as satisfying as the moment I see, at first I had some, you can say paranoia, if I can call it, for lack of a better word, because of trying to use single sign-on, login using socials, login using Google, login using Facebook, login using whatever. I just thought that person is this, before I now understood how single sign-on works. I thought that the moment I click that, my credentials and all my information on my Google will be shared with this platform and this other platform and this other platform. But the moment I understood how single sign-on works, especially when I started getting into the cloud, I now started using more of single sign-on and less of passwords. Even when I have to maybe sign up for an account, I know I'll save on some steps of sign up, trying to put in my name, setting up a profile picture by using single sign-on. I know people have many reservations around that, and you'll still have a discussion at the end so that you will tell me whether am I on the right path, or are you doing that? And you can even tell me there also on the chat. Are you using single sign-on? Are you using login using Google on most of the different platforms that you're using? If not, you can tell us what are your alternatives. So remember, you can't forget passwords if you never had any. But when you talk about passwordless, you're not talking about just you get to a platform and you're just putting in your name and you're in. It means that there's something else. So when you're talking about passwordless authentication, and I'll try to put in my notes here, we're just talking about signing into a service without using a password. And when you're not using a password, what are we using? And what we're using, there are like 3 or 4 things. We have certificates, we have security tokens, we have one-time passwords, or better known as OTPs, and internet banking and banking applications are very serious on this. They go hard on it. You can't finish a transaction without an OTP. And these days, they've even applications have made it in a way that you can't enter the OTP manually. It has to detect it from the SMS itself, which is also an advancement. Then also there's this good thing about biometrics. For example, your fingerprint, your retina scan. I don't know whether if we have people on the call, the WorldCoin people, kama ulipeana your iris for 7K or so, can put your hands in the air kama pesa iliisha. Sadly, I didn't get that opportunity. CG, but watu wenye walikuwa wanauza WorldCoins on WhatsApp, I don't know whether they got waliomoka, but it was quite something. And remember that passwordless authentication is considered more secure than passwords, because passwords are susceptible to what we call dictionary attacks, brute force attacks, and also social engineering. Somebody can follow up and know your birth date. They can also know maybe your nickname. They can know how you combine things. And through that, they can connect a number of things. They can know maybe the name of your child or your sibling or your surname. And they set up a very customized dictionary for you. And it shouldn't take them too long, especially now we are in the age of AI and cloud, and you have almost limitless computing power. Something that would take people like 4, 5, or 6 months to crack can take them a day or so. So when you're moving on, and as always, you can still put questions in the chat and perspectives and look at that. We're getting now into a new era of authentication, and there are some 10 breakthrough technologies that were shared in last year. And some of the number one was the end of passwords. And I couldn't get excited more than this. I'll tell you a story about how I tried to implement MFA for an organization and how hectic it was, because people don't like friction. Like, they just want maybe to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Even when you check most of the Wi-Fi, those people still use maybe Wi-Fi passwords without maybe any form of other authentication. They usually have maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, or Wi-Fi at 1, 2, 3, and all this kind of. It don't take you long to using AirCrack to get into some your neighbor's Wi-Fi. And in this day and age when people are having home Wi-Fi everywhere, people are putting up very easy passwords. So let me see. Let us check this link. Let me see if I can pull it up from here. Yeah, so it is here. It is. So the link is here. I'll still share with you in the chat. Let me see. Yeah, yes, Alvin, we have passkeys, and we're going to also talk about some of those things around. Google announced that, and also AWS recently announced that they're going to enforce a compulsory requirement for MFA for all the root users for AWS accounts. That means that they're now trying to crack on people putting up very easy passwords. So this is part of MIT Technology Review, and you can see of all the 11 of them, the number one is the end of passwords. What does that really mean? Okay. Just says for decades we've needed passwords to do things online. New forms of authentication will now finally let us get rid of them for good. I really love that part. Then instead that, we'll use magic links, maybe sent through email, push notifications, a biometric scan. And not only are these methods easier, you don't really have to remember what is this. To zoom in out. Let me see. Yeah. Let me just do that. Yeah, so easier. You don't have to remember your face. Obviously, you don't have to remember your fingerprint, and it will be more secure. So there are other things, COVID variant, grid, something on grid, the long-lasting grid. But you can see number one is all about passwords, and that is a very important kind of a thing, because password cracking has been a huge vector in terms of an attack vector. And when you look at that, it actually pains a lot when somebody, especially when we are now in the age of OTP, somebody says there was especially these WhatsApp takeovers. Your WhatsApp account is takeover. We are having SIM swap fraud. Your phone, you're told, you're called by someone. They tell you press some certain values on your phone. As you continue doing that, you're activating a SIM swap. I think that technology, maybe Safaricom or maybe these other providers try to overcome that, but most people are fooled into that. Also, even getting to a point of maybe fulizaing for someone and sending that money to them. And as we move on, we need to ask ourselves this question: why do we still use passwords? We know they are not secure. We know they can do as much as we can. The moment they are more complex, we need to now start using password managers. And we already know the story of LastPass and other short stories and all these other password managers that you can't be sure as they are storing your passwords for you, how secure are they, and in terms of what amount of the data they're processing. So remember, we're still using passwords because sometimes we're just reluctant to change. we have some our own. We love. There's this thing about saying if it is working, don't touch it, unless something really happens. Then you actually have to think of it. They're everywhere, and when you look at that issue, it is there in every aspect. Even within tech, we have our firewalls. We're using passwords there. In our cloud accounts, which maybe we are even having organizational accounts, which can cause massive amounts of cloud bills, and you're still using passwords there for our consoles. And even in our primary accounts, maybe your primary email, which you have used it across so many different platforms, and you're still using a simple password of your name combined with your birth date and maybe your whole nickname or where you come from. So those are some of the things that we really wonder, why are we here? And yeah, sorry about this. So passwordless authentication, I know they sing serverless, but still passwordless authentication is where you now remove the issue of knowledge. Remember there are three factors here. We have knowledge factors, possession factors, and inherence factors. So we're talking about knowledge, we're talking about the things we know, for example, your password. And we're talking about what you have or possession factors. We're talking about your phone, we're talking about a USB key, a hardware token, something that you have and can prove. As long as it is with you, we can say that. But still, that is also another factor. If your phone is stolen, then what happens? And then we have now the inherence. For example, your fingerprint is not my fingerprint, my retina is not your retina, and many other kind of biometric support, even voice, the jitambulisha and everything. So when talking about passwordless authentication, is any combination of what you have and who you are, the possession as well as the inherence. And you can think about trying to combine MFA and passwordless and think they're one and the same thing. Trust me, setting up an OTP is not passwordless. If you're using a combination of a password and OTP, that is not passwordless authentication. You're still using a password. So you need to move on from that because you're still in the radar of those hackers. So and that is where you use passkeys. And when you move, there's biometric I've already mentioned. You're talking about iris, retina, your face, your voice, even your hand geometry, even vein patterns. Do you know that even vein patterns can be used? And even your ear shape. I didn't know that it can be used as part of authentication. I didn't know ear shapes. You can combine your ear shape. You can do these, and then people can see your ears, and a system can do that. But the only downside, because any good thing has its downsides, and you have to be very honest. You have to be brutally honest about it. Passwordless authentication compared to passwords is more expensive. For example, if you decide to set up like a biometric for fingerprint, you need a fingerprint scanner. You need to set up all the infrastructure around that. You also need to maybe have the people who need to be authenticated registered. They have to come and they have to accept that. There's a lot of change management around that space. A good story which I now bring it up is there's a time as a Google Workspace administrator, sometimes you can use Google Workspace to administrate emails for an organization as well as other Google applications. We decided that we are no longer going to allow all the users in the organization to use passwords alone. So we decided we're going to add that layer of MFA, and we're going to enforce it across the organization, and they're going to give people 2 months to do what? To set up, and they're going to be getting notifications every time they log in using their password. They get a notification to enroll into MFA. And funny thing, after 2 months, some people still lost access to their accounts. They are coming back to the technical team to have access for them to continue using passwords alone. And they're telling them the reason why you've lost access is because we enforced and we gave a timeline, and the system has locked out everyone who had not set up an MFA. And funny thing, we had to go through a whole round of disabling MFA again and giving people 1 week extension to roll in again. but after 2 or 3 iterations, finally the whole organization agreed. Most all the other people who are left got into the bandwagon of having MFA, and we now had less alerts, less audit alerts that maybe leaked password or compromised accounts, or maybe spoofed emails being sent from a certain organizational email, and it was a good step. But then again, I'm happy that I don't know whether you've checked this, because yeah, that is going to be the last slide. I don't know if you've checked this. The Google announced, and I think that is what one of us should Google pass keys. So there's something called passkeys. So you can see passwordless login with passkeys, and you can see these link around what are passkeys. But let me just try it and show you how it works. Let me see if I can. How will I do it? Let me do an incognito window, and then I hope it's showing good. And then maybe I don't want to log into my email. What do I do? Let me just do forms.google.com, because I don't want you to see my emails. Let's try to do that. I'm sure I'm going to be required to log in maybe. Yes, so I'll just put in my email. And then you can see it's asking for a password, but since I already set up passkeys, I'll say try another way. And then I just use my passkey. And then I think it's loading it up. I can put a fingerprint, or I can just put my PIN. This is connected to my laptop, and you can see just by that I'm already logged in. I actually don't remember my primary password or something, and that is so much painless compared to setting up MFA and having that. So how do you do that? When you go to manage your account and you go to security, so you can see you have all these. For example, you can set up two-step. You can see I haven't changed my password for the longest time. I have Google Prompt. I have two-step verification forms. But this is the part I'm telling you about. You need to set up your passkeys. So you can see I've set up passkeys from my Windows Hello and my phone and my tablet. So that is how you do it. And you can create a passkey for another device the moment you're here. So that is how you do it from Google. And it is a revolutionary kind of a thing when you're trying to use it, because it makes your work so easy, and you're more secure and you're more protected. So anytime you're trying to think about passwordless, the best place to start is using passkeys. So, and there's so many other forms of passwordless authentication that are there. There's magic links. You've seen that for other providers. They just give you a link. If you say you just get a link, I don't know whether you know those platforms, but the moment you just decide to Google passwordless authentication, I don't know if I have to switch to this tab. Okay. And you just check this one login, it will just give you a whole lot of information around what passwordless authentication is all about, the different types, especially magic links, and just this. So you can check that out at any point in time. And I think it would be a very good time to now bring it back to Juma, if we can have questions, and then we have now that candid discussion around all these. So yeah, basically, because if you see my presentation, that is from current slide, after biometric, I didn't have anything else. So you can follow me on LinkedIn, that's my Twitter, CaveShakes. I also have a YouTube account, but I'm not an influencer. I just post things there for me to remember that I still did that. And you can link up there. So I'll stop my share, and we now have a discussion on this. So How do you do it, Juma? Do you do it first of all, handle? You can over to you.
Thank you for the discussion. Thank you for the presentation.
Presentation.
We do welcome any question and from the audience. My first question could go to how I was having a discussion with one of my colleague during the day. So, how do you start? How do one start with the starting to cybersecurity field? How can one start or get into the cybersecurity field?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you so much for that. So how do you get started? Sometimes, sorry to say, there are so many people try to make cybersecurity look so difficult to break into. I don't know whether it's trying to, a form of gatekeeping or a form of what. Or maybe they try to say if you don't get into cybersecurity through these people or through this organization or through these paths, then you are really not you're not really somebody into cybersecurity. But to get into cybersecurity is really, really easy, and it starts with you. You cannot tell people, for example, I can't come here and tell you, please do passwordless authentication, and I myself am not doing that, right? I can tell you do passkeys, and I'm not using it. I cannot come and tell you this is how you hack, ethical hacking, and I don't do it. And how do you now get these opportunities of practicing these kind of things? I always say there are three ways you can keep abreast into technology. One is to maybe enroll into a program, whether it is free or paid, or a webinar or a training, whatever it is, whether it's a boot camp. That is one way. The second way is you can decide to get into groups, for example, like Spacia Tech and many other user groups, whether you already know them. There are so many out there. Anywhere where people are coming in together and sharing insights and perspectives, you gain a lot. You even gain perspectives of something that if you just read it off a blog somewhere, you'll not get it in the same way. Then the third way, which I usually see is very, very important, is to subscribe to newsletters, to podcasts, to YouTube channels, to follow the right people on LinkedIn. And the moment you're there, you're already into the cybersecurity field. Trust me. You don't. Nobody has to tell you have to get a certain certification, or you have to be employed as a SOC analyst, or you have to get the certified ethical hacker for you to get into cybersecurity. You will only realize that you're into cybersecurity when people start coming to you for advice when it comes to security matters. When an organization comes and asks you, Juma, Richard, Virginia, Kellen, Joel, Phillips, Faith, whoever, what can we really do to protect ourselves? And remember that cybersecurity is more of being proactive rather than reactive. You don't have to run helter-skelter the moment there's a breach that has happened, but setting up things in advance. And the moment you are a leader, you are always curious and trying new things and going back maybe to your school, even as a student, and telling the ICT people there, the way we are moving in terms of how we handle our credentials is not good. Have you thought about, I know you're using Google, have you thought about setting up MFA or passkeys? You're already in that space. So the only thing I would advise anyone trying to get into the field is to start small. And when you see an opportunity, cybersecurity is wide. You can decide to get into red teaming, pen testing, to get into blue teaming, to get into consultancy, cybersecurity consultancy, cloud security, policies, setting up policies, or even maybe DevSecOps. It's such a wide field. The only thing that is important is to have that kind of a T-shaped approach where you know a little bit of everything, but you are known for something. So you are known maybe for cloud security, or maybe you are known for network security, or you're maybe known for as a red teamer, somebody who can do penetration testing and come up with a report. depending on what. And the moment you decide you're going to be known for that, you now follow the right people in that area. And also you get mentorship, get mentorship, get, and you don't have to seek mentorship locally. You can seek with LinkedIn and also this global kind of an approach. You can get mentors from literally everywhere. And also join associations. Join maybe something like the Kenya Cybersecurity and Forensics Association. You can join ISACA. You can join ISC2, and all these organizations, even PMI, all those kind of associations can give you an opportunity for you to not only learn from people, but also get to an opportunity to share your knowledge and share your understanding and even share your feel. Let us get to your fingerprint on something, whether it is a new technology. We already know there's a lot of issue about security when it comes to generative AI. So can you be able to be a voice that can be listened to when it comes to these areas? I hope that answers it.
Yep, I'm talking about mentorship. So at Pizatech, we're also building a platform that can enable you as a mentor, as a mentee, to have a one-on-one discussion, even a group discussion like this one on the platform. So you can join the waitlist of the platform with the link that I've shared in the chat.
Yes, I can't overemphasize the importance of mentorship when it comes. That is something that has really shaped the way I am right now, because the moment you're getting into the tech field, sometimes you might find yourself trying to think that you umefika, or you're already somewhere where you don't need to gain any more knowledge. But the moment you get a mentor, you have to get to a point of vulnerability and humility. You have to accept that this person knows more than you, and you'll have to be guiding you, whether it is a formal or in an informal way. Most usually better when it is formal, because that person can follow up on your journey, can get interested. They can tell you, here, no, you have this gap, because sometimes we usually have a high opinion of ourselves. So please join the platforms that have been shared, and also just be in that process. And you don't have to just join as a mentee. The moment you are mentored, pay it forward. What that means is, the moment you get somewhere in the field, also look back and give it back. Mentor someone else. Don't be high-headed and think that you made it. And because technology changes every day, you can imagine the people who are known by as the best developers in what? Let's see, Pascal developers. Do you think you can come here in front of people and say, do you know I'm a Pascal developer? Do you know I prepare very secure applications using Pascal? And people listen to you, they won't. So you might be relevant right now, but 5 or 10 years from now, nobody can even listen to you, just because you're having that kind of a high-headedness and thinking that you know it all. So, and I myself am actually in a number of mentorships, whether formal or informal, just to ensure that I keep myself in check in that space. Yeah. So, yeah, back to you.
Yeah, just another question. You've been to a victim of being hacked or into that scenario of your online accounts. What was the impact and what happened? How did it happen?
Okay, so what happened is, I was doing a project. It was a cloud development project. It was kind of where we are supposed to now use our own accounts. So the worst thing that I did is, first of all, I had an AWS account. I did not create a separate admin user. I was using my root user. So I generated credentials, this access key and the secret key. And the worst thing is, I did put it as plain text in a .env file as environment variables. and I pushed the code on GitHub for grading for that bootcamp. And funny thing, as I was waiting for grading, somebody else was waiting for my credentials. And what happened is I got a bill of around $300 on my account. It was a huge back and forth between the AWS support and myself, trying to tell them that this is not me. Somebody just decided to spin very large instances across 9 global regions. And also they got automatically validated. So at the end of it all, my account became severely limited. I was revoked from generating certain AWS resources until the compromise was cleaned up. And even up until today, those limits were put in a way that if there's anything that I need, I have to now request, so that they are very sure that it is I who really needs those resources and it's not a hacker. So that is what happened. And I can say maybe it was my naivety, because maybe I didn't put into the git ignore and maybe set up some alerts and all these kind of things that we do around cloud security. And remember that there are people out there waiting, they are craving for you to be ignorant on those aspects. Long story short, I was able to get the $300 bill was lifted. So, and the worst thing is it was eating into my credits. I had credits of around $500, so it ate into my credits. But they get it. The AWS was kind enough to refund that back, and it was a very long process of cleaning, because what happens is in the shared responsibility model, they can't do anything on your behalf. So if it is something that was set up by a hacker, like a key pair, you are the one to delete it. If it is a big EC2 instance, you are the one to terminate it, and not them. So you can imagine the whole process of cleaning up your account being your responsibility. And remember that your account is your responsibility. AWS cannot clean it up for you. You now have to be serious about things such as MFA, and also you have to be serious about limiting and applying something like principle of least privilege. And that is something that I learned the hard way, and it pushed me towards not just being a developer, a cloud developer, but into what cloud security really entails. So apart from that, I can't say I've been a victim of social media hacking, but I've really received a lot of social engineering emails and spam emails. I even get weird and I can see adult kind of content. I'm being told, hey, come here, you can watch me do this and that. And it's crazy because, you know, when you have your email set up, maybe, or when you're registering for a domain and your email is out there, you get it is maybe script. You have these web scrapers that scrape for emails, and you're even subscribed into things that you're not supposed to. And it's very difficult to get yourself out. I think I get around 100 spams of email every day that I have to review and have to delete. I review, I have to confirm that it is not somebody, a legitimate email that went into spam, and I have to delete. So maybe people have an idea. Maybe I've heard of people say you can use an alternative email, an email you are free to use to register for certain accounts, but sometimes that may not be viable for someone who has used for a certain email for a very long time. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, to the audience, if you've got a question, you can put it on the chat or just raise your hand. We'll give you a mic. So back to you, Kevin. As the technology is growing up, these passwordless using of authenticators. What concern and reservation do you have in adopting these technologies, like just like whatever I've said, and these are facial recognition, biometrics, and so.
Yeah, so my concerns around the same is obviously what we are now really concerned about, data privacy. For example, when my fingerprint is being used maybe to authenticate for a passwordless, or maybe my face, or even my voice that has been saved maybe on Jitambulishe, can that be leveraged by maybe, let's say, a large language model to profile people? Can my data be used to train other systems, and will I be paid for it, or is it just that? And you can see, as much as we usually accept the terms and conditions, sometimes these terms and conditions change from time to time. So my reservations are usually around data privacy. And the reason why I actually accepted to use passkeys using my laptop is because I know Windows Hello and the fingerprint feature and the pin feature, all of it stays within my laptop. It isn't saved on maybe Google's platform. It is just there as it is part of my hardware. So the other thing is, when it comes to maybe losing, for example, my phone is my most important asset right now. It has my authenticator, my Duo Mobile, my Google Authenticator. It is the one that receives the OTP messages. And the fact that now people know this, that the phone is now a very important asset when it comes to possession factors in passwordless authentication, then there's a need to now educate people and train people that you don't have to have that one 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 form. For example, just passwords and possession knowledge factors and possession factors, and even inherent factors. That is an issue. Then again, remember, you cannot reset your face. For example, if you've lost access, you cannot reset your fingerprint. For example, if you've lost your phone and you're using it to using Duo Mobile or any authenticator application, then it becomes a very tricky process if you're not set up a fallback password, or even maybe when your email has been compromised. So those are some of the concerns, as well as the cost implication of setting up these authentication, because there's a compute element around them. For example, security tokens can be intercepted. Somebody can receive OTPs on your behalf, maybe through SIM swap fraud. So there's a risk around it. And there's usually this thing. If you ask me, is passwordless authentication safe? I'll not say yes and I'll not say no, because it depends on your perspective. If it is about how it is used and the technology around it, I'll definitely tell you that it is safe. And yes, it is safe. But if you ask me about your use case and whether it can work for you, and I know me, and maybe I don't know whether you usually keep your phone or you lose it at every party and all these kind of things, I'll tell you it's not safe. So on it depends on perspectives. And the same case applies even to passwords and any form of kind of security. If someone kidnaps you and takes you around all the ATMs withdrawing money at different amounts, you'll not blame the bank for losing money in your account. So those are some of the areas of concern in my case.
Yeah, there's a question from Sunday. Is using password manager like Dashline secure?
I'm not okay. I can't speak for Dashlane or LastPass or Duo, but I can mention what I usually use. I usually use Google Password Manager. The reason why I use it is because I don't have to really rethink about another agreement with another third-party provider, because the fact that Google have already accepted the terms and conditions when I bought an Android phone, I already accepted the terms and conditions when I'm using my Gmail and other Google applications. There's less kind of friction, especially when I'm using it maybe on Chrome, which is my main browser. But I'm not advocating for it. There are other password managers, and what I can mention about this, considering the issue of LastPass and how it went, I actually realized the moment I saw the LastPass leak is when I realized I had never registered for LastPass. It was part of, I think, a training, and you were told, let us try out LastPass, but I had not saved so many passwords there. So I had to just go there, and I was logging in back to LastPass to get out of LastPass to just confirm what is there and just delete my account. So the thing about about password managers is you can't really verify how the security in terms of how they store the data. And as much as there's a lot of assurance that this is not stored here, these are cryptographic and all these kind of things, it gets crazy. And that is why I only use password managers, like for example, Google password managers, on platforms that have not yet embraced passwordless authentication. And the reason why I use it and the reason why I feel secure about it is everywhere there's a password, I've also set up OTP. If it is LinkedIn, I've already set it up that it has to send a prompt to my phone, to my LinkedIn app, or to the authenticator, so that I can accept a login from any device. Then you remember there's the issue about behavioral authentication. For example, if I've been logging in from Kenya, then all of a sudden I'm trying to log in from China, I've never been in China, then you have to go through the whole authentication process, whether it is 3 factors or 4 factors. I have to go through all of that before the system allows that. So those kind of tactics gives me safe peace of mind, but you never know. Not, as I've told you, there's a cost element, so not all providers for the different services that you consume can implement these. Even MFA itself is also expensive. For example, if an organization has set up MFA that's going to send you an SMS, they have to subscribe for maybe bulk SMS, and they'll maybe something that they'll get a cost around sending SMSs every time, or even set up maybe something like Cognito and have developers have it in a way that it's not going to just be spoofed or send emails, and when emails are being sent, they should not go to spam. So you can see there's a huge effort in setting up these forms of passwordless authentication. So if you ask me about the security of one password manager over the other, I can't talk with certainty as an authority. Anybody will tell you that this one is more secure than the other is lying to you, because different ways, there's different regulations that apply, and you have to really look hard. For my authenticator, for my MFA, I usually use Duo Mobile, which is developed by Cisco. So it totally depends on you, totally depends on what has worked for you and has not messed you up for quite a long time. Yes, so that is how I can answer that.
Yeah, thank you. Is it hope I pronounce your name well? Nicharo. So maybe for some newsletter that you're able to subscribe, maybe I could give you some. You can subscribe on is it Netcard, Cisco, Huawei. You can also subscribe from Cyber Talent. Then Isaka also have a good newsletters. Just a few, maybe Kevin, if you've got some newsletters, you can also add.
Yeah, maybe I can just share
As you're thinking of any other, just to you. Have you encountered a platform that you suspect they've got nasty security features? What am I doing here? And what are you able to do? And it is a platform that you really want to use.
Okay, I'll tell you one thing. For example, as I also share this, because let me share this because I was just showing you. I usually follow this site called the Hacker News, and when I look at any site that I want to get into, I measure the friction it takes. I check on the friction in terms of my customer onboarding journey to get into that platform. For example, one thing I really hate is I want to just check something and a paywall is already set up, and I'm told maybe I have to provide my email for me to access something very simple, maybe a news, or maybe if I just want to click on this link, or maybe North Korea's Lazarus group, loaned us 900 million in cryptocurrency. So the moment I see this, then I am told I have to maybe set up my email, or I have to create an account in that platform. I compare the value of my email address compared to the value of whatever I'm asking, and I just move out. So what do I do? How do I measure in terms of whether I should set up, and I'm looking at features. For example, I love the way, for example, I'll give an example of how I do it in terms of, example, AWS Management Console. So the moment I am here, remember that these are very important platform. People use it every day. And you can see the amount of effort they put in terms of making sure it is as frictionless as possible is really interesting. For example, you can see you can either sign in as a root user or an IAM user. Just put your email address first of all, then get to next, put your password, and you're in. So for example, if I decide to log in as maybe an IAM user, and even for the account ID, I don't have to remember all of it. I'll just put in maybe, which account do I use? For example, I can use my that. I'll use my easier account to remember. This one I'll use that. Do I have it remembered? Yes, it is here maybe. And you can see I'm still also using Windows Hello for my connected to my password manager. I think Google added this. Bring it to the side and set it up. Okay. Let's see. Let me just put the password because I know it. You can see I also have another MFA. Let me see whether I can put it. Where's my phone? And I put my phone. It is somewhere there. But you can see I just get my MFA, then I'm in. So when I look at that, compared, it's a very important platform. And I compare to what? Let me see. Which platform can I use? That is, maybe you can tell me which is that platform that you got that was very, very difficult to join in. Maybe let me see. Let's even use an example of although no offense, maybe let's see whether I can use eCitizen. And I can see it is eCitizen, they updated. I can see now they have something called One Login, which was very, very good. It's a good thing that they decided to do. But at first it was really crazy. It was, you can see I can set it up in terms of remembering. I can set up my what, and if I want, I've forgotten my password. But before then, I had to, if I don't have my ID, I have to follow it up. I have to make sure that I have the phone. I have to remember the phone number that will receive the OTP and all those kind of things. But there's a time when, and I think I don't know whether I remember the platform that is crazy to enter. I don't know whether you relate with me. Is it kra.go.k or .or.k? I think it's .or. And then it's usually crazy. And I think that is the reason why people have to go to the cyber to to do tax returns. It's crazy because I always have to click on forgot password, even if I have to, because it's crazy. I have to remember my PIN, and it will have to, okay, I think it has worked there. I have to set up my PIN. I have to, if I have the password, let me see if this is one or what, 101. Then I have to remember, I have to do this calculation. Crazy. So this is one. What is 117 minus 11? Somebody should tell me. I'm not even thinking. That is it 106? I think that is 106. So if you failed math, so you can see I'm in. So and you can see I've used my Windows Hello and it's all those kind of things. So So if you don't set up your password and you save it in a password manager, you'll have to go through that whole process. I ever got someone who got frustrated. They registered KRA with an email that they lost, or maybe it was a Yahoo, and they never even remember how the name was looking like. And yeah, and life became too hard when it comes to, and you can remember that person is trying to return on 30th of June, to do their tax returns. So it gets crazy sometimes when you set up these kind of things. But I love the way Google has decided to go forward. I've already told you, AWS announces Root MFA. You can see, Amazon to make MFA mandatory for root AWS accounts. It was announced 2 days ago. So all privileged AWS accounts will have to use multi-factor very soon. And it shows the direction where people are going in terms of that. And I know people have been really praising iCloud and iOS and Apple for security, but we're now getting into this space and trying to understand these kind of things here. So that is what I can answer in terms of that, Juma.
And what is the experience with those platforms that do not have a SSL certificate, yet they want you to input your password or your credential on them?
That is, I run like Eliud Kipchoge or maybe Usain Bolt. I I run. So whether it is what, first of all, I'll have to check whether it is a homoglyph. A homoglyph is where a letter A can be represented many ways, right? So you can be having a facebook.com with the A looking like what? I think you know the difference between the different the A that you are taught to write in nursery and the A that is usually typed on a keyboard that looks different. I don't know why we were never taught to draw A the way it is typed, but ni sawa. So, what I usually say, and funny thing, we overtrust SSL. Right now we have Let's Encrypt. A hacker can just set up something on Satbot and have a site that has SSL certificate. People can buy it. So the most important thing that you have to ask yourself, and I always ask myself every time I'm about to log in or maybe set up a password somewhere, is what am I going in for? If you see something that is really not worth setting up an account, then it is really not worth setting up an account. There's a certain day, a certain friend of mine, I saw him in a developer platform. He says, Kevin, we're having this social media platform that we want people to test out and 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 just see how it works, like beta testing and give them feedback. Then the moment I tried to log into the platform, I'll not mention it, maybe some of you use it most of the time. I have to I have to put my email, I even have to put my ID number, and I was asking them, I have to get an OTP and all these kind of things. Then I was asking them, surely you want people to test out your platform? It is a social media platform. Why don't you just say somebody can maybe get a guest access? Then when they see the different posts, they can decide to log in to comment or log in to like a post. Let us get the feel before you tell us to. So you're telling me to test something, but you want my information before I test it. That is too much. Whatever you're asking me is more than you're getting more value from me than what I'm getting from you. So anytime you get those kind, and even if you're a developer here, don't make it hard for people. If it's a social media platform, please let people test it the way it is, and if there's evil. So that's what I can mention in terms of that. Always check it out, and don't just trust SSL certificate. Anybody can buy them. Anybody can set them up, but you can be very sure that somebody who doesn't have the knowledge of setting up maybe an OpenSSL or even having a site that is not secure. And also be checking. Sometimes a very legitimate site might have an SSL that has expired. So that should not be a cause of alarm. If you know the people managing that site, just tell them the SSL certificate has expired. Can they what? Can they renew it, right? Yes, so those are some of the things that you know. I know so many places where sometimes the SSL certificate expires and maybe they are not aware. Maybe they are a briefcase company. They don't have a team to just be checking all these kind of things. So you need to just don't trust these platform, the SSL certificates too much. Yes.
Actually, I asked me because of our government, just like you said, kuna ile kampuni ziko lazy. So our government websites pia wengine wako very lazy.
Yes, I agree with you because most of these things, as you've mentioned, it happens a lot of time. It is something that I always see, and even for government sites, sometimes they even collect. For example, I think the Anonymous Sudan kind of thing really work the government of the day up, and you could see some frantic efforts setting up Cloudflare, setting up all these kind of ways of trying to go. I can see do what try to mitigate against DDoS attacks and just prevent them. But as I've said, in cybersecurity, you need to be proactive, not reactive, because once, especially in the era of data protection, you already know about the NIVAS case and all these other cases. If you've been hacked or if you've been compromised, you have to report and you have to make a public statement, which can really hurt your business reputation. And if you're working in the cybersecurity team in that organization, you can be sure that you might be the first person to face the axe in terms of getting out of the job. So as I've mentioned, keep abreast with technology, keep abreast with what is going on, and work in terms of change management. Train your users because the weakest link is usually the human. Usually have a system admin who runs an ERP somewhere. It tells me that I'm so fed up about these other executive admins in the departments. Why? They are sharing passwords each other, saving it on sticky notes and posting it on their monitors. What can I do? I've tried to make sure even when they're very complicated, they decide to write and share with them. They save it on as a text message, or even they save it as a digital sticky note in their laptops and all those kind of things. So if you are in that space or you're in that category, you need to know that that is not the right way of doing things. If you really want to save your password, use a password manager, a credible one for that case, and also have another factor of authentication. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Another point, just as you are doing spreading the cybersecurity awareness by sharing these with us. So, what is the importance of user education and awareness to enhance online accounts security, and what steps should individually take to better protect themselves, and protect their accounts?
Yeah, so the most important thing to know is that you are always a target. Don't ever think that because you have not faced an attack for quite a long while, then you're not a vector. You're not somebody who can be targeted. And the moment you put yourself out there, right now we are building our personal brands, our LinkedIn profiles. You are sharing them all over. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Connect me with me here. I'm on Twitter. Do this, do that, do that. People are finding ways of very complicated ways, sophisticated kind of ways of doing social engineering. They can see, you are participating in this boot camp. Then they tell you, we are having offers, we are giving you free cloud credits for you to complete your program without using any money. And you fall for that trap because you really want to finish that boot camp without having any cloud costs in your mind or thinking about that. So remember this. First of all, for you to train others, you need to train yourself. And that is something that you need to do really deliberately. How do you do it deliberately? By practicing the small things that matter. If you have to use passwordless authentication, test it out on a sandbox. Test it out in a way that that it is not going to be in a production environment where it is going to affect people. And also, when you're training people, don't do things in a snap. Don't, for example, I told you are to enable and enforce MFA in an organization across. We didn't just say tomorrow nobody is going to access the account unless they have enabled MFA. It doesn't work like that. You have to give people time to adjust to new things. And as you do that, you also do one-on-one, even if it means one-on-one sensitization. I had to do that so many times. I had to tell people, this thing is very important. When I see somebody about to log in and then they're ignoring that and they're just clicking do it later, just don't get locked out of your account. You need to set up MFA, then they're just clicking do it later, do it later, do it later. Tell them, no, why are you saying do it later? It's going to take you only 30 seconds. Let's do it together. Can we do it right now? And you make them get into that space. And the moment somebody is there, it's very difficult. I've never seen somebody who has enabled MFA and gone through a process of trying to disable MFA. So once somebody is in, they are already sold. So when it comes to training, make it structured, and also don't bombard people with what will not work for them. Just give them what is important for them. Don't go to finance people and start training them on red teaming and blue teaming and all these and telling them about crazy things. Just give them enough to help them do their daily jobs. So that is what I can say in terms of the personal as well as organizational. So also in terms of organizational, have a strategy. Have a strategy around disaster recovery. Have a strategy around backups. Have a strategy around password. Even if it's a password policy, make it known. Let people know that this is the requirement for this is your password policy requirement. If you require people to change passwords every 2 months or 6 months or whatever case, make sure this is well known to them well in advance. So, and also for privileged accounts, have stricter and a specialized kind of a training for those people who hold those accounts that really play a big role in the business continuity, such that if those people are compromised, whether it is through social engineering, it can create a lot of losses to the organization. Make sure that these people go through some form of specialized training and get to understand maybe their pain points. Sometimes somebody may say, the reason why I can't set up MFA is the moment I'm supposed to do something, I'm supposed to deliver this at a very short period of time, and I have to check through my phone, and maybe when sometimes I get to a place where there's no network, an SMS or an OTP cannot come through to my email or whatever it is. Just get to understand the pain points of people before you start deploying a whole cybersecurity trend. You don't have to jump into every new trend that has come. If it is something that people are doing and it is being done all over the world as people would think, don't just jump into it. Try to consider the use case of your organization, the literacy level in terms of digital fluency and digital literacy, just before you jump into that bandwagon and try to make people follow something, because you'll be resented. People will resent you, and you don't want to work in an organization where people say you're the ones who is making their work difficult. So that is what I can tell people, and just keep it simple. Keep it simple. If it's just, and don't just do it on October Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Do it all along. Do it all across the year. And as I've mentioned, the most effective thing that I've already seen in my work experience over the several years that I've worked is one-on-one. People love that kind of a human connection, telling them, this is what it will help you. Sometimes even a formal training that is like a lecture form, people will not feel it. People think, we are doing this just because the company has paid a consultant to come and teach us. And they'll really, maybe they learn, they'll take the notes and do what, then they'll go back to their old ways of doing things. So having a one-on-one and getting to understand, even if it's not just by one person, but even with a department, because the cybersecurity needs for the finance department may not be the cybersecurity needs for the marketing or for the sales. So if you try to personalize the way people get these actionable content, that is fine. And don't just go there and tell them, this is definition of cybersecurity, what are passwords, this, and you leave it at that. Don't be academic about it. Be actionable about it, and then you'll have tremendous impact. You'll have a good night's rest the moment people have embraced your way of doing things in terms of cybersecurity. Yeah. So I think I saw Juma, I think I dropped off. I saw some questions on the chat, and I think I also saw someone ask about the slides. So let me see if I can just post it on my Google Drive just right now and share with you. I know maybe some of you might be indifferent, you're not being a platform together. So let me see if I have it here. Yes, I have it here. I just posted it up. So I saw someone ask, are security keys safe? And anything that is, the moment I see a question that is asking, is something safe? It totally depends on how you handle it. Even a security key or a key card, sometimes in certain organizations, people log in with their name, their staff key cards as a key card to just get into a place. So if somebody is careless about that, you can't help it, right? You can't help that, however secure that is. So documents, just confirm that I can have saved this. Yes. And if you have any question, you can just, I think, unmute. I think we're going to finish just in 5 minutes. I think we've taken a bit of time. And
yeah, just as you are winding up,
yeah.
Also, just an announcement to the cybersecurity enthusiasts in the space. Space in collaboration with CTF rooms on besides Nairobi. We are planning to have an in-person event that is end of this October. The event is called EK4 Backup that will happen on that will happen in Kisumu at Lake Hub. So if you'll be present on those areas, you'll be welcome for the event. I'll be sharing the registration link for the event on our social media. That is the Spizatech event.
Awesome. So Deluxe was asking something very interesting here about, is MFA the same as 2FA? And I'll throw it to you. I want to see how you'll answer it. Joe.
You post the question to me?
Yes, I've deflected it to you so that I put you on the spot.
It's okay. On my understanding, that is multi-factor authentication and which is MFA and two-factor authentication.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just as the statement, it is multi-factor could be having different chains to pass through before you get into your account. Then two-factor authentication, that will be having two steps, having a password and another step before you get into your account.
Yeah, you've put it exactly the way it should. Most of the time, usually use 2FA when you're talking about passwords and an OTP as two-factor authentication. But when you talk about multi, it can even go beyond two. It can be a combination of all the factors that I've told you. There's knowledge factor, possession factors, and also inherence factors. So that is where we get to. So people move with that 2FA is where we started. Then we went to MFA. Then we are now in passwordless authentication. So that is how I can put it. And as you've mentioned about the events, please subscribe. Please get into what Spaciatech initiatives are doing. And if you have anything that you want to share, you want to provide to the community, trust me, the best way to be a master at something is to teach it, is to share the knowledge to the community. And you as you do that, you're building your brand, and you're killing two birds with one stone. You're learning something much better, and you're also building your brand at the same time. So that is what I can say when it comes to especially cybersecurity, because there's a lot of need in terms of that, especially now people are moving to the cloud. It means that now the vector of attack and the attack surface increases, and people are always going to need as much as we're talking about data scientists, data engineers, and all these other DevOps engineers, there's always going to be a need of security in any kind of sector, whether it is healthcare, whether it is finance, whether it is development. All of them would require some security skills. So you can share the links to Spaciatech and all the platforms which you're going to be taking part in. And Nicanor, please, the Hacker News is a very good place to check out, and also the ISACA and these social ISACA and ISC2 blogs. So you can just search ISACA blog. Let me just show you. I think it is this one. Let me just give you that. It's called the ISACA Now blog. You can do that and share that with you. And also the ISC. They even recently rebranded. We also have there. Let me also share that with you. Also, let it not get lost. Let the social media net get lost. So that is the IC2 blog. I've already told you about the Hacker News. So the Hacker News is also there. Yeah, please also use that Linktree. Linktree I think is a very good platform to just get all the links in one place. So that is what. So and then there's the Hacker News. So in terms of learning platforms for security, please do check. For example, if you're talking about cloud security, I'm more into AWS. So we have the skill builder that is there. Also, we have different, as I think you might mention, we have Skills for All by Cisco. We also have the NetAcad platform, but Skills for All is a good place. There's also Cisco U. Let me share with you. There's a very good CyberOps paid. It's a paid course, but they have released it for free for this Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I know you love free things that are paid for, so I know you'll all jump in there. Let me see if I can get it. I'll share with you those links. It's called Cisco U. Here it is. Good.